So today we'll be discussing about separator design, which is a continuation of our earlier separator design where we have find out the gas flow rate and liquid flow rate, right? And then we have seen that how these parameters are useful for judging which is more important in design of the separator. Now here in separator design part 2, we'll be discussing about the particularly vertical separator design, and we'll see that what is the design procedure of these vertical separators. And we'll also see that although this design having various parameters such as material design, the pressure of the separator, the handling capacity that separator can handle the pressure, and then the wall thickness, the corrosion allowance. So these are all mechanical aspect, and we are not going into that part. However, we will see the aspect of the separated design that is required before we purchase or acquire the separator. So we'll have this knowledge about this separator design. We'll not go into that much detail, which is of mechanical aspect. So here we'll be discussing the separated design. So before doing that, let us just discuss some of the things which are important to meet the pipeline standards. Okay. So as we discussed that the separator must be designed according to pipeline standards, and these standards vary from pipeline to pipeline and depends on the your consumer base, what they want, how much BTU content they want. Also, if your pipeline is suppose it's lengthy pipeline, you don't want get the pipeline too corroded. Okay, so you must reduce the water content in the pipeline to a limit that the corrosion cannot occur, and also the water is not required at the end, therefore it must be separated because you have to unnecessary push that water along the pipeline. Okay, and it will require additional energy. So the pipeline requirement as well as the BTU requirement, which are very necessary for the design of the separator, right? And whatever natural gas which is flowing through these uh, pipelines must need certain specification, and accordingly these components need to be separated from the natural gas, right? So this is I am discussing which we have discussed earlier, just to recapitulate the idea. So in general, a commercial acceptable natural gas should be, according to EIA 2006, that must be within a specific BTU content, right? So in United States, it is mandatory that the BTU content, which a natural gas flowing through the pipeline, must have a BTU content of 1035 plus minus 50 per standard cubic feet of the gas. So, and this is at 1 atmosphere and 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Also, next point, you see that it should be delivered at specified hydrocarbon dew point temperature level. And why this is important is that a dew point is something related to the amount of liquid being generated, right? So if we are working near the dew point, it is largest chance is that liquid slugs are generated, and once these slugs are generated, and we have seen in multi-phase flow that these liquid slugs are harmful, and actually these are causing damage to the pipeline. So we don't want much of the liquid slug to be generated, and therefore it should be worked at dew point temperature level. Next is that the gas should not contain the trace amount of the compound like hydrogen sulfide, carbon dioxide, mercaptan, nitrogen, water vapor, oxygen. All this has to be removed. But in the initial stage, what we see that our focus is to remove gas, liquid, and then in further separation process, all these hydrogen sulfide, carbon dioxide, mercaptan are being removed. But initially, we are more concerned about separating gas and liquid, right? Now, the water vapor must be removed, number fourth point, and sufficiently to prevent corrosion, as we have just said, and the formation of gas hydrate in processing plant. So when the temperature is low along the pipeline, there is also chance that the gas hydrate may form and it can block the pipeline and causes the flow assurance problem. So therefore, there are a lot of complexities involved once you have water along with your gas, and it causes corrosion as well as gas hydrate problem. And then these all particulates must be removed, right? In last, we can say that natural gas which is being produced from the well must be processed and treated. That is, we can say it is should be clean before it can be delivered to the pipelines. So it is a pipeline requirements as well as consumer based requirement, which allows you to design this separator accordingly. So next, we'll be discussing about gravity separation mechanism. So as you see that most of these separators are these gravity separators, and there may be centrifugal separators also, but we are only highlighting this gravity separation, right? Gravity separation, sometimes also called called knockout drum, and is typically used as the first stage scrubber, right? So it's a first stage kind of separation which is being done. And you see uh, there are three stages which are associated with the gas separation mechanism. The first stage, you see that, is the gas passing through inlet diverter, right? So here what happens, the gas hits the inlet diverter, and here there is momentum loss, and due to that the initial separation is done, right? So this causes the large liquid droplet to collide with the diverter, and then the dropouts, liquid dropouts due to gravity, right? Now there are various inlet diverters like cyclonic and baffle inlet devices which are used now. And then next stage is that when gas and liquid are disengaged in the separator. So there is a disengagement section in the separator. I will show you once we go to the figure that this disengagement section of the separator allows and gives sufficient time for the gas and liquid to get separated by gravity. Okay, so first stage is that it goes through inlet diverter, initial separation is done here. The next stage is that it will go into the vapor disengagement section of the separator, and where the smaller droplets are separated from the gas by gravity. Now the third stage, and which is the final stage, is the mist elimination. So even the gas particles which are not getting separated inside the disengagement section is further separated in the final stage, which is mist elimination section, right? So there are particularly three stages in a gravity separation mechanism. Now, before going to the design, we must understand the gravity separation of two phases, right? So once you see that these two phases are separating vertically, so gravity must always be acting, and there is flow direction of the gas towards upward. So particularly there are three forces which are acting, that is gravity, buoyancy and drag, right? And from these force balance we'll be able to find out the terminal velocity of gas, right? So our objective of understanding these forces is that we should be able to find out the terminal velocity, right? So once you are able to find out the terminal velocity, we'll see how it is important. So let's go to this figure first. And here you see that there is a liquid droplet, right? And the forces are acting in both the direction. So you see the net gravity forces, which is downward, and this is gravity minus buoyancy, which is found to be Fg equal to mp into rho L minus rho G into G divided by rho 1 Gc. So this is the net gravity force which is acting downward. And then you have a drag force due to movement, upward movement of the gas, right? Because gas is always moving upward. So here what you have is the drag force, and the relationship is given like this. right? Now, once your net gravity force become equal to the drag force, what you can calculate is the terminal velocity, right? Vt. So this Vt is a function of various parameter. However, it can be replaced by an empirical parameter k, right? So this k will take care of both the vertical separator as well as horizontal separator. So you see this Vt is nothing but the terminal velocity, and this k is called the terminal velocity constant in feet per second for vertical gravity settling, right? You see all these forces which once balanced, you will get the terminal velocity, and k is the terminal constant. This equation we have seen earlier also. This is a Schroeder-Brown equation given in 1934, and this Vt telling you that if the gas velocity, right, which is in upward direction, that is Vv, you can see this velocity of vapor, right? So if this Vv get less than Vt, so if Vv is less than Vt, then what will happen that the liquid droplet will go down by gravity, right? That means it will separate out with the gas. It will not carried away by the gas. So this Vt terminal velocity should be less than the velocity of the gas, and then only you'll be able to separate out the um, gas and liquid in the disengagement section. I will show you the disengagement section in the figure will come later. But here you try to understand this, right? So Vv should be less than vertical terminal velocity, and once this is true, then you are able to separate the liquid with gas. Otherwise, the liquid will carried away with gas, and it is difficult to separate. Now you see that in vertical separator, whatever movement of gas is in upward direction and gravity is downward direction. So things are a little bit simpler. But once you go to the horizontal separator, we have additional complication, because liquid droplets to be separated are subjected to horizontal drag force, which is the movement of gas, and which is perpendicular to the gravity, right? So one way the gas is moving horizontally and gravity is acting downward. So in that case, this K factor will take care of such thing, and it depends on the pressure, right? So you see that uh, table 1 is given by Otto H. York company. You see that with mist eliminator and with the different pressure ranges in PSIs, the K has been defined, this K, right? And there is one more um, association called Gas Processor Supplier Association, which has given the value of K, which is nothing but equal to 0.35 minus 0.0001 P minus 100. So this is valid for large pressure range. So I think this equation can be used more widely, right? So it is given by Gas Processor Supplier Association. So let's move on. Now you see, once you have gas liquid, right, things are little bit easy. But there may be a separation of three phases. So now here we'll discuss the separation of three phases, where we are trying to separate gas, light liquid and heavy liquid. So now you have two portion of liquid. One is light liquid and one is heavier liquid. So here the gas and liquid will be separated easily, but again liquid has to separate in the separator, right? So this light liquid may be your light hydrocarbons, and heavier liquid may be water, right? So it depends that which lights liquids are there. Okay, it may be water, it may be some other thing. So it may be light hydrocarbon or heavier hydrocarbon, so it depends, right? So you see that gas and liquid separation is same as described, right? But the heavier liquid and lighter liquid have to be separated, and they assume the Stokes law. So you see, once Stokes law is applied, this Vt, that is the settling velocity, right? Settling velocity, this Vt. This is not the terminal velocity now, as for gas liquid separation. Now this is the settling velocity. of the heavier liquid and lighter liquid, right? So you see that there may be the condition when the heavier liquid is going from lighter liquid column to the heavier liquid column, right? And there may be the condition when the lighter liquid bubble or lighter liquid which is going from heavier liquid to the lighter liquid, right? So from heavier liquid continuous phase, the lighter liquid will go to the lighter part, and from lighter liquid continuous phase, the heavier liquid which is inside the lighter liquid will go to the heavier part. In this way it is separated, right? So this settling velocity is given by one empirical constant Ks, in bracket the density of heavier liquid minus the density of lighter part, right? Lighter liquid. So divide by mu, and the mu will be the viscosity of the continuous phase, right? So suppose you are trying to find the settling velocity of lighter liquid. So lighter liquid will separate out from heavier liquid, right? So the heavier would be the continuous phase. So in that case, if you want to find out the settling velocity of the lighter liquid, then in that case, the mu would be the viscosity of the heavier liquid, right? So in this way, you have to remember that liquid will separate out from uh, the lighter liquid will separate out from heavier liquid, and heavier liquid or heavier gas, heavier particle will separate out from lighter part. So in this way, the separation will go on. And you see that for various system of the lighter part and the heavier part is shown here in this table 2, and you can see that this light phase, once you have hydrocarbon and water, so the minimum droplet diameter is 124 and the K factor is 0.333, right? Now, once you have water as a lighter phase and fural, this is denser than the lighter phase, which is water now. And then you see this factor is 0.163. So in this way, these various K factor have been defined for various lighter phase and heavier phase systems. Now let's come to the more important part, and which is called three-phase separator design. Now you see the three-phase separator can be either vertical or horizontal, right? So we have seen that this vertical column is there, which is used to separate by gravity, and horizontal separator also, which is also separating by gravity. But almost invariably, we are using horizontal in the industry because of its simplest design, right? Now, Monroe and Sarkek in 1994 suggested that the vertical orientation is used when large amount of gas need to be separated from relatively small amount of light and heavy liquid, right? So what he suggests that vertical orientation should be used when when the large amount of gas need to be separated, when the gas quantity is too much and need to be separated, then the vertical separators are used, it can handle it. So the heavier liquid and light liquid should be less than 10 to 20 weight percent, right? So these are some generalization which is done over a period of time and with experience, and with many research it's found that the vertical orientation is more useful when the bulk amount is gas and need to be separated. Now these baffles are commonly used. Of these baffles are of large surface area, and these are commonly facilitates the liquid separation, right? So it depends that you want to use the baffle or not, or you will be only satisfying with the diverter. It depends on the need of the separation, right? Then again, he suggested that the horizontal separator, different devices can be used to control the interface level, right? Now in horizontal separator, there is a large interface, right, between oil and the heavier part. So that need to be separated, and generally we use boot and weir, or a combination of bucket and weir. So here you see that a boot is used when volume of heavy liquid is less than 15 to 20%. And when the volume get of heavy liquid get more than 15 and 20%, then we use weir and bucket type design, right? So weir type design is used when the interface level control will be difficult, right? So we have to always maintain the interface, otherwise the mixing will happen again, the inter entrainment will happen again, and therefore we have to use boot or wear depending on our need. Now see, it is always the good idea to examine both vertical and horizontal configuration for a specific case and decide which one meet our physical requirement, right? And the stream specification, also the economic attractiveness. So depending on your need of the requirement, space requirement, or the stream requirement, and also the monetary part. So you have to decide which one should you use. Now, as I discussed, that boots are used. So just I want to show you what is boot. So here you can see that in this figure, there is a separator and there is one more vertical column which is being inserted, where you see the heavier liquid is settled down and the light liquid is at the top. Okay, so this type of design is little complex, and therefore this is replaced by the weir, where this part will not be there. There will be two interface, and here we'll install a weir where you can see this light liquid once overflow the weir, it will go to this side. I will show you that diagram later. So here you can see in this diagram, uh, we have a horizontal separator and we have a vertical separator, right? So it depends that which one you'll use according to your need, but this is the specific design which is shown here. And you see in vertical separator, you have a mist eliminator installed here. So it is always a design criteria that the mist should be of 6 inches around, and there must be some space above the mist eliminator. It's 1 inch around. So this is the design criteria which is for vertical separator. And you see that this is the feed, right? So let me pen down here. So from here you'll getting the feed, and once you get the feed, there is a disengagement section. So this is the disengagement height, right? So here the liquid and vapor get disengaged in this section. So you have a liquid droplet and which is moving upward, okay, because of drag by the gas. So once your terminal velocity, as I discussed, when your velocity of gas is less than the terminal velocity, then the separation is going to occur, and then liquid particle will settle and go down, right? And this is the inlet diverter, or sometimes baffle also. And you see that we have to always maintain the higher liquid level and lower liquid level, right? So the difference between the higher liquid level and lower liquid level is called surge capacity, right? And why we have to maintain this liquid level, lower liquid level, is that we have to always feed to the other separator or other processing unit where this feed will go, that is this liquid will go for further separation. Therefore a continuous flow must be maintained. Therefore we always have to maintain this lower liquid level. Now if you go above this higher liquid level, then your again the separation efficiency will go down. So in this way there are a lot of things which are here. Now for a more complex design, I will show you the three phase separator, which is little complex than this vertical separator, as you can see here. So now these are the various terms which is written here. H is the hold up height. So this is the hold up height. We'll see the definition soon. And this HL is the lower liquid level, HLL is the higher liquid level, HS is the surge height, and then total height. So our objective in design is to find out this total height and this diameter, right? So once this height H and the diameter is finalized, then only the internal baffles and mist eliminator should be designed. Okay, so this is our first objective. Now, before going to the three-phase vertical separated design procedure, we must be familiar with few terms, right? So first term is liquid holdup. So holdup is the time that it takes to reduce the liquid level from normal to empty, right? While maintaining a normal outlet flow without feed maker. Now, what does it mean? It means that you are having a feed from here. Now you are not taking any feed, right? So what I mean to say, you don't have any feed now. Okay, there is no entrant from here. So no stream is coming in here. And then what will happen, that your liquid from normal to empty, right? The time it takes from getting normal. So suppose uh, this is your normal liquid level, right? And from normal liquid level to the time it takes to get empty. So suppose this much height of liquid is there. So how much time it will take to get empty, that is your hold up time, right? And the surge time, you see there is next term which is called surge time. The time it takes for the liquid level to rise from normal to maximum, right? So if you have this normal liquid level again, normal liquid level, how much time it will take from normal to get the maximum, right? So the time taken by the liquid level to reach from normal level to the maximum level is called surge time, and the time taken by the liquid, same liquid level, to reach to the empty without having any feed is called hold up time, right? So these are the two important time which is always be taken care of before designing, because this hold up time will decide the feed to the uh, next processing unit, and it always give you a window that if somehow the feed is not maintained, then how much time is with you to do the maintenance task, right? So this is always useful. Even also the surge time is useful, because from normal liquid level to this higher liquid level, if it is going in suppose t time, then after that t time your the outlet valve should open, so that this higher liquid level should not go above the maintained level. Therefore the separation efficiency should be maintained. So in this way, these two important parameters are there. And sometimes if it is not given, the search time is not known, then it may always be taken as one half of the hold up time. That is around usually between 2 to 10 minutes. So all these terms you can see here. A is the vertical cross sectional area of this uh, vertical separator. And you see 1 minute. Okay, let's come back here. Now you see that there is a wire mesh which is called, we start from top to bottom. So you have vapor nozzle here. Now this vapor nozzle, it will allow the gas to go out, and after that vapor nozzle there is always a back pressure valve, so that the pressure inside this separator should be maintained, right? Now after this nozzle you have wire mesh, which is nothing but your mist eliminator. And then you see there is a disengagement section here, right, where the liquid and vapor will separate. So we'll allow the gravity to act in, and this gravity will allow the gas and liquid to be separated. And further you see that once there is a disengagement section, let's take up to here, there is a surge column, right? So this is the normal liquid level which is maintained, and this is surge, that is the uh, uh, height where the maximum liquid level is there. Okay, so this is the surge height, and you can see that there is a dark line here, right? Now this dark line signifies that. So first understood that this is a separator which is a three-phase separator. So always there are three phases. So one gas phase, that is the above this surge line, dotted line, right? So now we have done with gas. Now we have come to two-phase column. Now this, the top line, you can see the dark line is the line which is showing this lighter phase. So this lighter phase is above the baffle, right? So this is around 9 inches, right? Some defined by the design guidelines that this HA should be 9 inches above the baffle, and this baffle is occupying some area, right? So this area of baffle is nothing but AL, right? Now this AL is occupied by the baffle, and there is a small passage which is remaining for the liquid to go to the interface of heavier liquid and lighter liquid. So there is an interface of heavier liquid and lighter liquid, and this can be approached via a downcomer. So this downcomer have a area, suppose AD. So AD is the area of downcomer, right? Now you can see the cross section. So this is the cross section of the baffle. So this is the baffle area which is occupied for more separation, and this WD is the area from where the lighter liquid will, or the mix of liquid, lighter liquid and heavier liquid, will go through this downcomer to the interface where the further separation between the liquid phase, which is lighter liquid phase, and heavier liquid phase will occur. Okay, so here there is an interface of, above there is a lighter liquid and below there is a heavier liquid, and this is approached to the downcomer. So this is the design of this three-phase vertical separator, and all this factor must be taken into account before we go and design. So there are various height terms. You can see this is hold up height, right? So from here to here, the time it takes for the liquid, right? Once there is no feed, the time it takes from this level to go to the empty level, the height is called hold up height, right? And time is the hold up time. Again, this is the valve, right? Now from here, the liquid is taken out, and from this point onwards, there is a height shown here, HR. Now this HR is the height of the baffle from the exit of light liquid, right? So from here, the light liquid will take exit and is taken out from here, and this height is HR, right? So you can see HR, height of the light liquid nozzle to the baffle in fits, right? Again, this HL is there, right? So HL is the height from the liquid interface to the light liquid nozzle. Okay, so this is the interface between the heavier liquid and the lighter liquid, and from this the height HL is defined. So HL is the height of the liquid from this liquid interface to nozzle. So in this way, there are several heights you can see, right? Now these several heights, once you combine all these height, you will get the total height, right? Now our objective is to find out what is the diameter, okay, right? And what is the height? So it is H and D. We are interested in case of vertical separator. And if you see, it is L and D that we are interested in horizontal separator. Okay, so this must be matching with the design criteria. So always, suppose you have find out some value of H and some value of D, but that should be matched with the defined H by D ratio by the separator design companies. So H by D ratio is very important in case of vertical separator, and L by D is important for horizontal separator, right? So these are the two important parameters. Now let's go to the design part. Okay. Now see, there are various steps which have been defined to design a vertical separator, right? Now we'll see those. Number one step, right, is to calculate the vertical terminal velocity by using the equation below. As we have seen that there is always a vertical terminal velocity, and this vertical terminal velocity should be greater than the velocity of the gas which is moving up, right? So gas is moving up with a velocity of VV, As you can see in point number 1, Vv is the gas velocity, or you can say the drag velocity, right? So this drag velocity, if it's less than terminal velocity, then only this you can separate out the gas from the liquid, right? And this is the vertical terminal velocity, which can be calculated using this relationship. Now, if you have the case of three-phase separator, then this rho L would be the total density of the liquid. That means you have lighter liquid and you have heavier liquid. So rho L will be defined as the total of both the gravities, right? And rho G is the gravity of gas, density of gas, right? Now further you see in the next process of this design, you have to calculate the vapor volumetric flow rate. Now this vapor volumetric flow rate is given by this equation, where you see that Wg is the gas mass flow rate in pound per hour, and rho g is the density. So if you have this value, you can find out the vapor volumetric rate. So you have to see, this is the design criteria which involves few defined points, and these defined points must be known by you, and this can be understood once you practice it more and more, right? So this is the always this design criteria will always be followed in the same way, in the same steps. So you have to just understand, and later you don't have to remember all these things, because this is always be given to you by in SAM handbooks, and once you have these equations, you'll be able to find out or design your this separator, right? So no need to remember all these equations. It will be given in examination, but only things you have to understand this. Now, second, you see, once you have this terminal velocity, Vt, and you find out the drag velocity. So drag velocity is always less than terminal velocity, then only the separation will occur, as I said, right? So the vessel internal diameter can be calculated using this relationship. You can see here, right? So this comes from Q equal to A into V, right? So the flow rate is defined by area into velocity. From there, this area term will get di, right? So this is the formula from where the internal diameter of the uh, 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 separator is calculated. So one parameter, you know, the diameter of the separator. Now here again, you have to, in step 4, you have to find the settling velocity of heavier liquid, Vi, right? Vhi. Now this you see, uh, the particle which is heavy and which has to be separate out and go to the heavier phase again, right? So from where it will separate out? It will separate out from the lighter liquid. So the settling velocity of heavier liquid, that is Vhi, if you want to find out that value, you can use this equation, right? Which is equal to Vt equal to Ks, and Ks is determined by the liquid which you are going to separate. Okay, so one you have lighter liquid and one you have heavier liquid. So we have a specific chart for that, and you can find out the value of Ks from there. Now the settling velocity of the heavier liquid droplet would be calculated from this equation, where you see Vt equal to Ks into rho hi minus rho li divided by mu. Now mu will be the continuous phase, which is the lighter liquid. So heavier liquid is separating out from lighter liquid. Therefore, this mu will be of lighter part of the liquid, right? So in this way, this is calculated. Again, in the step number 5, you have to find out the settling velocity of lighter from the heavier. Okay, so the now heavier would be continuous phase and lighter would be the velocity, settling velocity, that you have to find out. So the settling velocity of the light liquid is given by Vt or Vl, you can say, which is equal to Ks into rho hi minus rho li divided by mu h, right? So in this way, this can be calculated. Further, you have to find the volumetric flow rates of the lighter liquid and the heavier liquid, right? So once you have the value of this QLi and QHi, you can use this equation to find out the QLI and QHI, right? Now, why we are doing this exercise? We want to find out different heights, right? That is why we need the velocity and flow rates. So let's go to other steps. Now you see in step number 7, which is quite important from the point of view of design, is that you have to calculate the settling times for the heavier liquid droplet to settle through the distance HL, right? Now, to get a clear picture, I will show you again what is HL. So this is the HL, you can see. So liquid, this is the liquid nozzle. From here, the height up to the interface, right? And HS is the uh, height of the heavier liquid from interface to the bottom. So HS and HL both are there, right? Now let's come back here. Step number 7. Now here, what you have to do, you have to find out the settling times for heavier liquid droplet settle through the distance HL, and the light liquid droplet to rise through the distance HH, right? Now TS is the settling time for the heavier liquid, and TS is the settling time of lighter liquid. So just you have to use this formula, which is nothing but your speed equal to distance upon time, simple relationship. From there you can find out the settling velocity, settling time of the heavier liquid and settling time of the lighter liquid. Now here one thing you have to note is that this HL and HH is taken to be 1 feet, right? Now this is the initial guess which is taken, right? HL and HS. Now we'll see finally that there is a design decision, and if that design decision is not matching, then we have to reiterate the process and go back and see whether we can make some changes in HL and HH. So the initial guess which is taken is just take HL and HH as 1 fit, right? And then further, what you will see that step number 8, that if the baffle area, if there is a baffle area of the plate, calculate the baffle area, which is the settling area for the light liquid, right? So next we have to find out the residence time where this area will be required. So in step number 9, so first we have to find out this uh, area of the baffle area, where you see that this is nothing but the settling area for the light liquid. Now coming to point number 9, now we have to calculate the residence time for each phase on the volume occupied by light and heavier liquid, right? So this residence time is nothing but the time up to which the liquid is stored in that particular column, right? Now you see the residence time for lighter phase, that is lighter liquid, is given by this particular equation, where you see that this TRLI, that is residence time for lighter liquid, is HL into AL divided by QLI, right? So QLI we have just calculated in uh, step number 6, right? So from there we can bring this QLI, and AL just we have calculated in step number 8. Further, you see that you have to find the residence time of heavier liquid, where you can see that this HH is the height, just we have taken from here HH, this is 1 feet, and this area of the occupied by heavier liquid, which is nothing but the area of the cross-sectional area of the your separator. So you can see here that AH equal to A. Now A is the cross-sectional area, that is pi d square by 4, right? Now if this design criteria, you see, if this is satisfied, right? If this is satisfied, then you have to do the design calculation again, right? You have to change the diameter. So this should not be there, right? So the residence time of lighter liquid, if it is less than residence settling time of heavier liquid, or if the residence time of heavier liquid is less than settling time of lighter liquid, then you have to change the design parameter again, and you have to do the recalculation. And if this is vice versa, then you can continue to point number 10, right? So in this way the design is defined. Now here you can see that you, in step number 10, you have to calculate the height of the light liquid above the outlet, right? Hold up height, that is HR. Now see, I'll show you in diagram what is HR. Now you can see from here. So from liquid nozzle, right, light liquid nozzle to the baffle height, so HR, this is the HR, and which is the height of the light liquid nozzle to baffle in feet. Now see how it is calculated. So step number 10, you have to calculate HR from the values given. Now you see this TH is the hold up time. Now as I said, the hold up time is the time for the liquid from the normal level to the empty level it takes, right? So this hold up time must be known before we do certain design, and if it is not known, then you have to make some initial guesses, right? And then this HR is calculated. Again, you have to find out the surge height. So this point number 11, the surge height is found out by TS QLI plus QHI divided by A. So all these parameter we have calculated earlier. And then finally, once you have all the heights, just you have to add up all the heights that we have calculated, HT, which is equal to HH, hold up height. Then all these terms we have defined earlier. You can see this table where all the heights are given. And then once you have a total of height, then this is the total vertical height of the separator, right? So now we have got two different parameters. One is the diameter of the vertical separator, and one is height of the vertical separator, right? So in 12 steps we are going to do this analysis, do this design procedure. So we have now known the diameter of the horizontal separator and the height of the horizontal separator. These two things are known, but one thing is missing, that as per the design criteria, the H by D ratio is around it is 1.5 to 6, right? So now you have to calculate the H by D ratio. So let me pen down here. You have to find, now D is known, H is known, right? So as per the design, the H by D criteria for vertical separator is from 1.5. Sorry, I cannot write it through pen. So I'm just giving you the idea that this H by 2 is from 1.5 to 6, right? And if it is, this ratio is lying between 1.5 to 6, then our design is okay, right? And if it is not lying between 1.5 to 6, then we have to just change the design parameter that we have adjusted. Like in step number 7, we have taken HL and HH equal to 1. So then we have to change those parameters that we have just taken for adjustment, right? And in this way, the design is done for the vertical separators, right? So here you can see that uh, in the last I have written that make sure that the ratio of H by D is within the reasonable range of 1.5 to 6. Now, once this is satisfied, you can find out the design which is done in a good manner, good fashion or not. Okay. So further, see, different heights can be calculated by uh, knowing the feed nozzle diameter, right? So this HBN, which is the liquid height from the baffle to the feed nozzle. So this is the feed nozzle and this is the baffle. So HBN is the height which can calculate it by having the idea of feed nozzle diameter. So all these criteria is written here. You can go through it, and then you have an idea how different heights are calculated and what are different parameters which are required to find out different heights, right? So the feed nozzle is also an important criteria in determining the height of the nozzle. So if the diameter of the feed nozzle is known, the different heights, initial heights like HBN and HD can be calculated. So HD and HBN depend on the feed nozzle diameter, that is disengagement height, and the liquid height from the baffle to the nozzle, right? So in this way, all these height parameters need to be calculated for design of vertical separator. Okay, so I wish to take one example, but this is quite big, so we'll take this in next class, right? So this is based on the design of vertical separator, and once you do this particular question, you'll be able to understand this design in more detail, and then things will be more clear about it. Okay, so do you have any question till now? Questions?
No, thank you, sir.
Can you switch on your videos? Hello, Ibrahim?
Yes, sir.
See, the design is little complex, but you have to understand. See, once you go through it twice or thrice, na, this will look simple for you.
Exactly.
Okay, so actually,
Okay.
why I have discussed, why I am only discussing this vertical, because for others also the design criteria remains the same, right? Only with slight changes. So just I have taken this vertical separated design, and once you go through it, we'll do a numerical in the next class, and we'll see that how we can utilize all this parameter to find out the height and diameter of the vertical separator, right? So it is height
Okay.
and diameter of the vertical separator which is more important, right? So
Okay,
have
sir.
you understood the concept or not?
Yes, yes, got it.
We will need some examples, sir, to fully understand.
Definitely. I will put one question so that see what you will do. You will go through it today. All the design parameter, 12 points for vertical separator, and then once we do the numerical, it will be easy for you to understand.
Okay, sir. So you will share us the PPT?
No. There is a book by Economites. I'll share that book. So you will go through that particular chapter and see the design part for the vertical separator. And let's come back tomorrow to discuss this numerical. Thank you for now. Thank you very much for joining. Okay.